Ruffian is widened on the field by some 12 lengths. Here's the finish. I'm going to call it Ruffian by 15 lengths in her maiden voyage.
One reporter called Ruffian's race the best ever for a first-time starter.
Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo. Welcome to Power Pace with Pandy on Thursday, August 21st, 2025. Saratoga. A couple of races I thought were interesting I wanted to talk about today. Saratoga. My picks are on my website for free today on the free page. So handicappingwinners.com. Click on free. I'll put the link below. First race, Saratoga. So this is a 7 furlong race. Accelerated News. I put this horse on my list of horses to watch. This was an impressive maiden-breaking win here. Now, on figures, Brisnet has City Blocks running an 87 here in her last race. Now, that was a 5.5 furlong race, so I'm a little suspicious of that number. But they also have her with an 81. And then they have an 84 at Finger Lakes for Intentious. Again, I'm a little suspicious of that number because it's Finger Lakes. So the bottom line, though, is that they, on figures, if you look at the race summary, they have City Blocks, the top figure, Intentious, the second figure, and Accelerated News tied for third figures with Crimson Queen. Let's see, it was Crimson Queen, yeah, that was going back two back. She was eased, Crimson Queen was eased in the bout in the stakes race here. But a couple of things about Accelerated News, so Lisa Lewis, a veteran trainer, had her. Lisa Lewis, has had a good career training small stable, but she, in my opinion, she's really done her best work on turf. So she ran this horse on turf and synthetic, this filly, even though not a great turf pedigree in my opinion. I would say it's a better dirt pedigree. So that's my opinion. I mean, this is not what I would call classic turf breeding, but she's kind of known for her turf training. So anyway, the horse was transferred to Giddings, Melanie Giddings, and she put the horse on dirt for the first time, and the horse just ran so much better. She, not only did the horse draw off and win by 12 lengths, but her pace figures jump way up. She's racing off the pace here in Florida, and in her first start at Aqueduct, she raced off the pace, but she had a rough trip there. She got pinched early, and this is like a throwout race. So she trained nicely, on dirt at Saratoga. You look at this race here, this Bullet 47-2, and sure enough, she liked dirt. And she ran a big race here. One thing about a horse that wins by 10 or more lengths, if a horse wins by 10 or more lengths, and they move up in one class off that race, they have a very good chance of repeating. They have a much better chance statistically of repeating if they won by double digits than if they won by less than double digits. This is just the thing that I've noticed over the years, and it proves statistically too. I forget the exact statistics, but statistically speaking, horses that win by 10 or more lengths, if they go up one class, their chances of repeating are better than average, better than stepping up one class off a win where you won by 2 lengths or 3 lengths or 4 lengths or 5 lengths. So that's a good sign in my opinion. And I don't know. I just think she's going to repeat today. She's probably not going to be much of a price, but she's going in at 7 furlongs. This was 6.5 furlongs. She likes this track. So, but look at the other race I wanted to talk about. I think the Albany is a pretty interesting race today. The Albany is a race. This is the 47th year in a row that they'll be running the Albany Stakes at Saratoga. So it's a classic New York bred, state bred race. $200,000 purse. They're going a mile and an eighth. Now, I like Iron Dome, but this is going to probably be a matchup. This I talked about this in one of my recent videos about the matchups. Hey, you have two horses that you think is between these two horses, so you have to compare the two. So you have Train the Trainer here, who is even money on the morning line, on David's morning line, and you could see that she finished second. He finished second, Santa Anita, and then came in against New York Reds and won 3 in a row. On the Brisnet numbers, they're very high on the Brisnet speed figures. And he raced 2 turns for the first time last time in this New York Derby race at Finger Lakes, but he only beat 3 horses. They gave him a good figure. He controlled the pace with Irad. Now he's going to go 1.1 miles for the first time. It's going to be his second time going 2 turns, and this time it's going to be at Saratoga in a tougher race. Then you have Iron Dome. Now Iron Dome was not as precautious, so he started out his career kind of green, kind of learning. For the first race is a throwout because this horse is bred more for classic distances, and he was fractious in the parade. I would just give him that race. But he didn't improve much in the second start, but they put him right in at 1.1 miles. But then he started to pick it up. He started to figure things out. Then he comes into Saratoga and they go 1.1 miles, and he wins by 10. Now, remember what I said about double digits? You're pretty likely to win your next start if you're only going up one class. Well, they put him up into 9 winners and 1. He wins by 11, and his figure goes up again. So this is a really well-bred horse. And he likes this distance, and both of these wins are over this track. So today he's coming back at 1.1 miles over the same track where he just won these 2 1.1 miles races. Now the figures are interesting. Like I showed you, Brisnet has Train the Trainer as having the better figures. But now let's look at some of the other figures. Let's look at the Delling Racing Form's buyer figures for the race. So here's the last 3. So they have Train the Trainer with his highest figures of 91 on his last 3 races. Well, they have Iron Dome has a 91. Now don't forget, Iron Dome has a 91 at this distance over this track. Train the Trainer has a 91 at Finger Lakes at a shorter distance. So according to the buyers, these horses have the same figure, whereas the Brisnet shows Train the Trainer as the fastest horse. So just for the heck of it, I said, let me get the time form numbers. Now this is the time form condensed, where it just shows you the figures. You can the PPs come with this. Now you can see they have Train the Trainer as the last 2 races 110 and 118. Iron Dome 107 and 109. So they have Train the Trainer as clearly faster. Now they give added numbers for early speed on their numbers. Then they have Hit the Post with a 116, which is surprising to me. And Hit the Post is a long shot that I picked on my website back a few weeks ago here. In this race here, when it was 13 to 1, that was my best bet that day. I'm not going to go into it. I went into it on another video, but that was Giddings. And I really like this one coming back off the layoff there. But this horse has more of a speed pedigree. Finished second to Train the Trainer last time. I think 1.1 miles might be a little tough for this horse. But again, according to the time form, they have the horses being the second fastest in the race. But they have Train the Trainer with a 118. So it's funny how they're all different. But basically, time form and Brisnet make it look like Train the Trainer is faster than Iron Dome. Now, I'm going to tell you why I prefer Iron Dome. So, first of all, I watched the videos, okay? This is a speed pedigree. Train the Trainer has a speed pedigree, basically. I mean, I'm not saying that this isn't a pedigree that, a horse can go a little longer. To me, this is like a sprinter miler pedigree, more so than a 9 furlong pedigree, especially when you compare it to Iron Dome. Iron Dome also has a pretty speedy pedigree, but it's a classier pedigree overall because Into Mischief is the top sire in the sport. This horse has a $15,000 sire. This horse has a $250,000 sire. So they paid $500,000 for this horse. And this wasn't off a workout. This was when the horse was, it was just a standing auction, and they paid $500,000. Now, one of the reasons is he's a really nice looking horse. Now, when I watch these horses run on videos, Train the Trainer to me looks more like a sprinter miler, which is what he's bred for. He's more of a compact horse. He has a quicker stride, and that's the way sprinter milers that are really good look. And he's not a bad looking horse by any means. But Iron Dome is a bigger horse with a longer stride and looks like a horse that would run longer. He just has that longer stride. It just seems like he has a lot left coming into the stretch. Now, he's going to face a faster horse today, so maybe he won't have as much left when he has to, go against trainer. But just basically the way he looks, the better pedigree, the fact that he has 2 wins over this track at this distance, he's improving, basically with every start. I mean, almost every start of his career, he's gotten better. So he's obviously a late developing time of horse. He's maturing. I just think he has the edge. I think when it comes into the stretch, he'll be able to put away trainer. And I think trainer will have the lead. But it's going to be interesting, too, because you have Irad, who's going to be on the lead most likely. And then you have his brother, Jose, who's going to be, as you can see, Jose has been keeping him close once they stretched out. So he's probably going to be sitting second or pressing him. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. See how these 2 brothers, negotiate this 47-year-old stakes race here. I think Iron Dome's class and 1 1/8 is going to get to trainer's speed. But we'll see. It's interesting. And it's interesting how the speed figures don't match up. That's why people talk about speed figures, and I've talked about this before. I used to make my own speed figures. I did it for 10 years. And I can tell you, that it's a bit of a guessing game. I mean, that's what it is. And it's harder than ever to make these figures because you have so many turf races. If you have 10 races on the day, and 6 of them are turf races, you have to make a figure for the dirt based on 4 races. The less races you have, the more difficult it is to try to get an accurate figure because you don't have as much to average out. So, and that's why these figure makers, sometimes don't agree. And that's, the case in these 2 races I showed you. But anyway, these are, 2 interesting, horses to watch today. I like Iron Dome, and in the first race, I like the Accelerated News. Yeah, Accelerated News. And the Albany in particular, I think is going to be a pretty nice, state-bred stakes race. So anyway, I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. It's free. I appreciate that you came in to watch my video in the first place. Enjoy the racing at Saratoga, and I'll see you next time.